Evening and welcome to a very, very important program brought to you by Shunem Care in conjunction with the Golide FM, that is Golide Family Ministries. And today we are talking about infertility from a man's eyes. My name is Thamsanqa Tshuma and I host a weekly podcast on family life issues, and you can find us on Golide FM. And today I'm with none other than Sikhumbuzo Dube, Pastor Sikhumbuzo Dube, who is a healthcare chaplain, founder of Shunem Care, is committed to creating awareness about childlessness. He himself is in a childless marriage. Welcome, Pastor Dube.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the warm words of welcome. I'm so grateful that you have introduced me and you have welcomed me to the show. Thank you.
Right. Now, Pastor, you made me aware of something that I was not aware of. You indicated to me that this week is National Infertility Awareness Week. And some of us are so oblivious to such things. We are so oblivious. We think everything is normal. We think everything is okay. What is this week all about? What is it that we want to get to understand about this week?
Very important question that you have asked. Thank you very much for asking this question. This is a week that was founded by the Resolve.org, an organization that is committed to assisting people who are living with infertility, infertile couples. And so it is a week where we amplify our voices. And the hashtag this week is what I want you to know. What is it that you need to know? And so we are engaging people. We are talking in various platforms. We are talking about this thing and we are creating awareness about this very important element, infertility, a subject that deserves attention, but a subject that is least spoken about.
Thank you very much there, Pastor. I just want to also welcome those that have joined us, Whisper, Tulani, Sandile, Prosper, Nqobizita, and Delbert, and Melusi. I just want to say welcome to this program. Now, Mfundisi, this is a rarely spoken about topic. I mean, I indicated to you that in my 40 plus years, I've never come across any platform where we talk about infertility, especially amongst men. And so the question is, in medical terms, what is infertility?
Okay. I just want to begin by a disclaimer. I am a pastor, I'm not a medical doctor, but because of maybe the challenge that I am in, I've become more of a semi-doctor in trying to find out issues about this thing. I will speak in layman terms so that I will not violate this. Infertility is a situation that happens when a couple continues to have unprotected sex, but they are not able to conceive. It can be for a year or for whatever time. They are trying to have a child, but that thing is not possible. So medically, they will be declared infertile because they are trying to have a child, but they cannot have one. So that's what we call infertility.
Right. And then, so we want to talk about the male factor infertility, because we more or less on us as men, because as we go on, we will understand why we're focusing on men, because our society has never really spoken about challenges. I mean, women go to gynecologists, men don't necessarily go to any doctor for sexual issues. So what male factor infertility?
Okay, so male factor infertility happens, I'll try to be, it actually happens, I mean, male factor infertility, we are saying this, the infertility that is taking place is taking place because of issues that are coming from the men.
Right.
So it is seen maybe as an alteration of the sperm concentration. Or it's a motility, or when a sample is taken, you may be collected between 1 and 4 weeks of the sperms, and when they are analyzed, then they discover that the sperm concentration or the morphology, the way it is like, or its motility, when they analyze that and they find that it is reduced, there's an alteration, then the men may not be in a position to impregnate the wife when it is like that. So the issues that are causing the infertility are with the men. So in this regard, generally we are saying the infertility is coming from the male side. So that's so in human beings, this infertility accounts for about 40 to 50% of infertility, and this affects about 7% of men. So that's what happens in human beings.
Right. That's a very 7% is quite a high number. I mean, even if it was 1% for me, it'd still be a higher number. But so society then says, how can a muscular man, how can men fail to impregnate, or how can a muscular man be infertile? Society has got those questions. Let's talk about the myth. Let's talk about masculinity myth and infertility.
Okay, it's very, very important question that you have asked. The masculinity myth stems from the time when we are growing up. We are told boys don't cry, and men ought to be men, and they ought to be strong, and they ought to withstand everything that is taking place. So the masculinity myth says man is strong, man has got virility, man is able to do all these things. And so because man is able to do all these things, man cannot be. It can't be. It's not possible. It's not doable. It cannot be conceived that a man may fail to have a child. I mean, that's out. That's out according to society. Society says, no, men may not be in that kind of a position. So the masculinity myth is the one that really deceives us in this regard. And so we are saying, men, it is possible. Those studies are indicating that 7% of the issues of infertility are coming because of the male factor infertility issue. And this accounts for about 40 to 50% of the issues that we are talking about. Yes, sir.
In actual fact, when I was reading up on infertility, I discovered that there are several causes, and some may be about the diet, some may be about family history, some may be we live in a generation where there's all sorts of rays. Cell phone rays may be the cause of all these things. And so when you talk about masculinity, it says to me, it's not about how much muscles you've got. It's the lifestyle factors, the things that surround you. And so sometimes there's this element to think, because I'm a man, I should be able to do this, and we are ignoring the factors all around us. I need to add that one. So, Pastor, you have experienced not having a child, as we said in the introduction. So when no one is born, what are the feelings that come up in a man? As from your own personal experience, what emotions have you experienced?
No, when someone asks a difficult question, you begin by saying that's a good question. So I must say that's a very good question. I must admit that's a good question. now, because we are right here on this show, I will be honest and I will speak about the feelings that are there. There are times when you feel that you are not a man enough because of the societal issues that take place, societal issues. You feel that I'm not a real man as it would have been given. So I'm not a real man because society describes men according to the number of children that they have. Society describes men according to not only the number of children, society also describes men according to the sex of the children. Sex of the children. If you have male children, then you are a real man. And I must say, there are feelings of broodiness, taking time to think about regret. There is anger. You may be saying anger. Yes, you are pastor. Anger. Yes, anger. Maybe speaking for other men in my shoes, anger may be there to say, why me and why not others? These things usually come. There are feelings that come so hard and they can be very terrifying. In some other quarters I have said, regret can come because, being a pastor, you officiate in child dedication ceremonies, and then at that time you say, Lord, you're asking me to do this, but you're not giving me this. And then you have anger that's directed towards God. You have anger directed towards the society. And those are feelings that come. Generally, men are not feeling inclined, but then we die inside us. We bleed inside our hearts because we are told, boys don't cry, and that becomes a real problem. So when infertility comes in, men become so disturbed that they are not able to handle the feelings. They are not able. Sometimes you may find them venting on other people. The problem is that they have not been given an opportune time to grieve what they are going through. And so what I'm doing right now is part of the grieving process. There's some grief also that comes with not having a child as a man. And as you are walking, as the other men are describing how their children are doing and all those things, these feelings come so hard. And those are the feelings that are there. And so it varies with men. I must say it varies with men. Some can have regret because I deal with these issues. Some are filled with regret and some are filled with animosity, some anger, some are saying, they are saying, no, I think I have to walk out of this thing. There are many feelings that are there depending on the environment that this man is in. And maybe when there is pressure from the parents, they love the wife, but the parents are saying, no, we need grandchildren. It's like in an African setting, we need grandchildren, and we need this thing to happen. So it becomes a bit difficult. Yeah.
Right. You touch on very important factors. You touched on family. You spoke about Africanness. We are both African men, and I think we understand the pressures that come with being an African man. Walk us through the pressure of what it means to be childless. And I mean, it's not only at church, at church level, it's not only at friends level, but even at family. You know, who have been sent to say, let's talk to Umzukulu. Umzukulu, do you have a problem? What pressures have you met at a societal level dealing with or not only you, but men who are struggling with infertility? What challenges have they met at societal level?
there are various pressures that are there. Number one, the pressure that is most disturbing is stigmatization. Because coming from an African society, when everything is all right, the spirits are happy.
Yeah.
But when things are not all right, the spirits are angry. And you become the source of the anger, or the spirits are showing their displeasure on you. And so because the spirits are showing their displeasure on you, speaking as an African man, then you must bear the brunt to an extent that when we bury you, we are going to tie a rat to your back to show the societal displeasure for failing to perpetuate the family lineage. And so, because we are angry, we are angry. Yeah. And so the rat that we are tying to your back as we are burying you, we are registering our displeasure. And we are saying you have angered the spirits because you have not continued the line, the linkage of humanity from those that are departed, the dead, so to speak, and those that are living. And so you have not done that. Speaking as an African Christian man now, you have received a curse from God. That's why you are not having these children. And so there is pressure that you are not praying enough. You're not praying. If you were praying enough, you could bring God and put him right here. Let him face you. You face him. You put a chair and you face him and you tell him all your problems and tell him, Lord, I want a child. So you are not praying enough. If you were praying enough, then we could not be talking about this. So, you being a pastor, you being a man, you're not praying enough. You being the priest of the house, you're not praying enough. If you were praying enough, the miracle would have happened. And look at us, some of us who prayed. We prayed and things happened. And just like that, boom, children were born. Okay, yeah, those are pressures that come to people that don't have children. And the man is forced to think otherwise when they are in that kind of a situation. So when a man looks at infertility, they are seeing themselves as weak, useless, namby-pamby, wishy-washy, men that are not able to do things that are valuable. So they have not contributed to the society according to societal standards.
It actually makes me think we can be so insensitive to other people's situations in the fact that no one wakes up and says, I do not want to have children. And so we become so insensitive. We will say things that will hurt people and we do not know the damage that we have actually caused. And it actually brings me to a point, Pastor, where I've got only girl children. And so somebody said to me, "Windoda bani engenamfana."
Okay.
Try and have another child, because a boy child, because you will not leave a legacy behind. And I think it's even more tougher when a man is infertile or they are failing to have children and people then say, you will not leave a legacy. What's your take on that one?
You've brought a very important point on leaving a legacy. It's a very, when you think about it, when you take time to think about it, okay, there are things that I'm doing in life. Who is going to benefit from those things? I could be doing this. I love writing children's songs. Who is going to take up the legacy that I have left? So I have thought about this. People who have children, it's up to them to leave a legacy to their children. But for us who don't have children, I have decided to become a living legacy. I don't have to leave a legacy. I am living, L-I-V-I-N-G. I am living a legacy. So in everything that I do right at this point in time, I should make an impact in people's lives. I don't have to look forward to the future that I don't know about, but I must leave an unerasable footprints in the hearts of humanity to say there lived a man such that I will transcend the dash that is between my birth date and my death date, which will be on my grave. I don't want to have that unfilled with nothing, but I want it to give essence to that dash between my death date and my birth date. To live a life that challenges people to explain who Skhumbuzo Dube is. So when talking about living a legacy, I'm saying you don't have to wait for your expiry date to pass on things to individuals, but you have to inspire people as you are living right now. So when we're talking about living a legacy to the children, I am a living legacy. I don't have to leave a legacy. So that's my perspective on the aspect of living a legacy.
You actually remind me of a certain speaker who says, many people are afraid to die because they have not lived.
Oh my.
And when you talk about saying you are a living legacy, you're actually saying to me, living with a purpose, living with a reason, not just any reason, but godly reason, a purpose that when we come to your grave, we will say, here lies a man who made a difference. And so sometimes when we go to some people's graves, we are forced to almost tell a lie because people have not left behind a legacy worth mentioning. And now there's one question in my mind, Pastor. It's the issue of men. As men, how do we support one another? How do we help each other? If I realize that there's an issue of infertility, how do we become a support structure? Because as men, we have been nurtured or raised up to say, we hit our chest. And so when a man fails to do something, it's not easy for him to come out and say, I've got a challenge, because he is afraid of being judged. So how do we become a support structure one to another as men?
Beautiful question. When we realize that there is an individual that is failing to have children, we should, number one, be mindful of what we say. There are certain words and phrases that are dangerous. Supporting an individual that's going through infertility is like going to a funeral. This individual has had a loss, but the loss is different from a funeral because the loss is intangible. You can't hold on to the baby that I have lost. I have lost babies, but I don't have the babies. The babies are in my mind. And so the way you treat somebody that is in a funeral, somebody that has lost, when you get there, you try to understand what is going on.
Right.
You don't offer solutions. We don't need solutions. We need listening ear. Somebody who can to say, okay, I see. One day I was sitting with it was after a presentation that I was making in some place, And there's an old lady. I thought she was wise in her way of asking the question, because she said to me and my wife, she said, I have a sensitive question that I want to ask. This is the question. I realize that you don't have children. And the question that I want to ask is, you would bear with me. I want to understand whether you are waiting voluntarily or you are still praying to God for the gift. You see, when she asked that question in that way, to me, that showed that she took her time to think about, to construct the question in a way that is going to be, received in the right way. And then when we responded, we say, we're still praying for a miracle to come from God. We are waiting, because she asked it so the first thing is to be mindful of our language. And the second thing is to just be there. I mean, you may not understand this. I mean, just be there. Just be there.
Yeah.
I mean, just be there. Just being there means what the friends of Job did before they opened their mouths. When they were seated there quietly, they spoke a lot of things to Job's heart. But the moment they opened their mouths, Job says in Job chapter 16, you miserable comforters, because what they say was more dangerous than their silence. So silence is golden. If you don't know what to say to me, it is better to be silent. So that's one way of supporting us. And another way, don't hesitate to tell us that my wife is pregnant. Don't hesitate. I mean, I'm a human being. I'm not abnormal, because don't hesitate to tell me, we are expecting, we've had a baby girl, we've had a baby boy. We are here to celebrate those that have children. So there's no need for somebody to hesitate to say that. The moment you hesitate and you are my friend and you hide these facts from me, it eats me up, because it's saying, okay, my friend doesn't trust me to an extent that they cannot even tell me that they are expecting, or secondly, they can not even share with me their joy that they have a baby boy or they have a baby girl. So let's share those joys. Let's share those joys.
I think that's very powerful, because I was reading a research, I think in 2018, 2017, that was done by the University of Stellenbosch around men who were struggling to have children. And one of the things that they highlighted, as you say, was, so if society supported them much more better, the burden would be easier to bear. Now, what would you say is the greatest hurdle for men to admit that it is possible to live happily when no child is born? There's this assumption to say, be happy without a child. You just need a child in order to be happy. What's your take on that one?
Generally, we have been raised to wait for the bundle of joy. Bundle of joy. It's called the bundle of joy. It is as if it's the bundle of joy that brings happiness into marriage.
Right.
When, in actual fact, the bundle of joy can complicate the happiness in the marriage. In some instances, not in all instances. That can happen where the wife then waits for the husband to kiss the child so that they can receive the kiss they kiss the child. The wife kisses the child because the child has been kissed by the husband. The wife is no longer receiving kisses from the husband. They can only receive them through the child. So in that instance, the bundle of joy has become a complication of joy. So that is a complicated issue that needs to be sorted. So it is the greatest hurdle for men to admit that it's possible to live happily even when no child is born, is the society. For me, it is the society. In other instances, it is the family, the pressure that the family puts. What are you waiting for? The society says, what are you waiting for? The time is moving. You will end up being a grandfather. A grandfather of who? He can be. How can I be a grandfather? A grandfather of who when I don't have a child? You will end up being very old. What are you waiting for? So the greatest hurdle is the societal definition of a complete marriage. A complete marriage, according to the society, is one where there is a husband, is one where there is a wife, and then a bundle of joy. And then a bundle of joy. But joy is not predicated or anchored or coming from having children. Joy comes from two spouses that love each other dearly. And I want to say to some of us that are listening, who may be in my shoes, men that I hear, it is not having a child that brings joy. It is love that really brings joy into marriage. Genuine love, that kind of love that is unique. It is the one that is going to bring happiness in marriage.
Right. It actually, I was, in my recent podcast, I was actually talking about, along those lines, to say, joy in marriage is not circumstantial. It is not created by things that come. Joy in marriage comes when one spouse gives the best of themselves and the other also gives the best of themselves, and they see into each other, intimacy. So when you see into the other, you begin to explore and enjoy each other. And so I want to agree with you to say a child does not predetermine the joy of a marriage. A child simply adds to the joy that was already there, if a child is given. But the joy exists with or without children. And so I just want to agree with you. If we learn how to be intimate, if we learn how to see into each other and love each other, then we will definitely experience the joy. Now, men in society have, it's been said, if we cannot have a child at home, go out there. And I'm sure even you as a pastor, you've been told, regardless of the office that you hold, you've been told, hey, Mfundis, maybe if you go out there, you might come back with something. How have you handled this pressure? How have you handled this peer pressure, if I may put it?
Okay. You define your own marriage. You define the boundaries of your marriage. What happens next door doesn't necessarily have to happen in your own home. What makes other people happy is not what makes you happy. Somebody, it should be last week, said something that I laughed about. This individual said, there is this neighbor who used to seem to be buying pizza for the wife every day. So there would be a cardboard box of pizza outside every day. They would see right there in the dustbin, there is a cardboard box of pizza. And then the husband decided, no. The husband of the next door husband decided, no, I just want to find out how this man is doing it. Every day he buys pizza. And then he walked over to his neighbor and he said, neighbor, just want to, I'm just troubled. I see that every day you are throwing this pizza, empty pizza cardboard box into the bin. So how are you doing it in such a difficult environment? How are you affording to buy pizza every day? And this man laughed and said, oh, my friend, I'm very sorry. I do this for the public. I bought pizza last month, and every day I throw, in the morning, I throw the pizza covers into the bin, and at night I pick them up. I do that. At night I do that. So if this guy decided I'm also going to buy pizza, he was going to try to define his own happiness utilizing the happiness of the other, which is a false happiness. So in the case of having no child, I have to define my own happiness. I have prayed to God, and I continue to pray to God to say, Lord, help me to be a testimony that marriage is complete without children. And it is love that cements it. It is not procreation that is the cement to the glue of marriage, but it is genuine love that loves and does not look at the products of the marriage. So, so the secret is define your own joy. Know that your joy is not defined by the society. Your joy is defined by the ideals of marriage. The ideal of marriage is happiness, joy, peace, despite the circumstances that are taking place.
Now, thank you very much, Mfundisi. As we're about to close, here's what I learned from the Bible. Hannah could not have a child. Elkanah goes and finds Peninnah. And the Bible says that when the Bible records Peninnah, it describes Peninnah as one who was poking Hannah. And I just want to say to people who are struggling to have children, or let's avoid bringing in Peninnahs into our marriages, third parties. Elkanah could have just prayed and could have experienced joy in his marriage, but he decides to go out. It says he was a good man, but to go out and get another wife, a wife who brought misery into the home. And it's just to say, Mfundisi, when we try to resolve issues our own way, this is where we experience misery, when we could have experienced joy. Let's stay away from the Peninnahs. But I just want to say,
before you go any further, you brought about that aspect. You see, the culture in which Elkanah did that kind of a thing is more or less the same as the African culture. The African culture will say, if the child is not being born, look for a second wife, or look for maybe a third wife. If this child, maybe if this one is giving you girls, look for somebody who is going to give you boys. And that pressure continues on and on and on. And so it's the same kind of culture. And so when we try to solve problems in that way, there is something that may happen. The women may know that you are desperate for children. I mean, I need to speak to men that are having this problem. And if they know that you are desperate and you are crying and you are mourning, you desperately want children, they will hook you. Some clever women will hook you. And when they hook you up, you will have a child that you think is yours when that child is not yours. When that child is not yours. So it is very, very important. You'd rather stick to your wife and be faithful to your wife, love her dearly, go for infertility tests, make sure you do everything possible that you can do. And if it if the answer is no, I want to underscore your marriage is complete even without those.
Yes.
Sorry for cutting you. You reminded me.
No. Thank you very much. Mfundisi, I want you to wrap it up for us, because the Bible says, husbands, love your wives as Christ has loved the church. It does not say love your wife because she gave birth to your children.
Oh my.
It does not say love your wife because she's got curves. It simply says love your wives as Christ has loved the church. And for us, Mfundisi, just give us a summary. What can you say to those of us that are struggling with infertility in their families?
Okay, we're speaking about men now. I want to say to men who are in my shoes, you are a real man. Fatherhood is not manhood.
Yeah.
There are men who are fathers, but who are not real men. There are men who are not fathers, who are real men. And also the opposite is true. So manhood, being a real man, has nothing to do with the number of children that you have brought on planet Earth. Being a real man is living according to the ideals that the Lord has given you. I want to say, I don't want to apologize. I want to say being childless is not being fruitless, and it is not being godless. Being childless is only an element that is saying you are waiting. You are on the waiting list. It has nothing to do with who you are. It has something to do with what you are waiting for. So you are waiting for the gift, keep waiting, wait for the gift. And when it doesn't come, you are still a complete human being. You are enough. You don't need to be a father to define who you are. You need to be who you are. Maybe before I wrap it up, there could be one or two people that may, I don't know, maybe having questions so that we can wrap it up after the questions they may be having. I hand over to coordinate.
Yes, if there's anyone who's got questions, I see Elijah gave a comment to say, define your own happiness. He says, define your own happiness. If there's anyone who wants to say something, pass a comment, a question, you can unmute yourself and say your peace of mind. We give you this opportunity to be part and parcel of this conversation. Anyone on the platform who wants to share their thoughts, please feel free.
Yes, I know, I understand that this topic may be a bit, it's actually sensitive, and maybe you may be afraid to say one or two things, and I understand because you may be in the platform, there may be people who are in my shoes, and I'm saying, let's hold on. And I'm saying, let's also, those who are here, we need to open up and be free and speak about this. So if you are there, you can just unmute yourself and share whatever you have.
Okay. I just want to say to everyone, I think if you read the book of Hosea, God says, my people perish because of lack of knowledge. They've rejected it. And one thing that I've come to learn is when we have such discussions, it is an educational discussion, one that empowers those of us who have had children on how to deal with situations where people have had no children. I know I've got my own relatives who do not have children. And speaking with Pastor Dube has actually empowered me. It has given me knowledge on how I deal with my relatives, How best can one deal with added pressure when the infertility is being caused by the other spouse? There's a question, Mfundisi.
Thank you. Thank you for that question. I'm not sure whether the spouse is the female or the spouse is the male, but whatever the factor is, how best can we deal with an added pressure when the infertility is caused by the other spouse? So if the pressure, there is pressure that comes from the other spouse to say, if I'm understanding the question correctly, the individual is asking, there is pressure that is coming from the other spouse, and the spouse thinks they are, or maybe they know because they've gone for virility tests, infertility tests, and they've been proven that, okay, you are able to have a child, and they are causing pressure. These are difficult moments to deal with such kind of pressure. The individual that is under pressure needs to seek therapy. That's the first important thing, because you are boiling inside of you. You don't have anyone. You can't go around and telling people like what the pastor does on Facebook to talk about this, because I'm creating awareness. Yeah. You can't go around posting and sharing these issues. You need to confide in a therapist that's going to help you to deal with the pressure, because you are living with the pressure on a day-to-day basis. And the house has turned into hell, because the house has turned into hell. Maybe the husband, the family also is saying, we need a child, desperately we need a child. You need an outlet. You need to confide in somebody. You need to confide in somebody who is not going to publicize your issue. You need to confide in a therapist that is well-trained, that knows, that understands what is going on inside of you. So we are here, and some of us are here. I am here to provide this kind of support, this needed support at this point in time. That's why we have come to this platform. We are saying, don't die in silence. It's needless to die in silence. We basically need to help each other. We need to support each other. We understand what you are going through. We have seen marriages crumbling because of this. You need to talk about it. You need to release it, but you need to find people that understand. You need therapists that understand this situation. Maybe, I don't know whether I've answered this question appropriately. This is an individual. Okay, so there is a follow-up to that, I think. I don't know whether...
Yes. Say the wife has the problem of infertility and the husband can have children, and pressure coming from family members for them to have children.
Okay, so if it's the husband, right? I know, I think that's where the question. If the husband is having the pressure from the family, here is the time to stand with the love of your life.
Amen. Amen.
This is the time to say, anyone else comes next.
Right.
I have committed. You see, the marriage vows is very important. Now, this is a subject for another day, but let me just pass by that. The marriage vow says, love in spite of.
Yeah.
That's what the marriage vow says. The marriage vow doesn't say love because of. The marriage vow says love in spite of. So if the pressure is coming from the family, I'm standing with my wife. I'm not standing with my family, because what God has joined, let no man put asunder. We, the family members, on that one, there is no compromise. The family members have got to be told, point blank, say, it is God who gives the gift of children. And so don't put pressure on my wife. Don't do that. You will have overstepped your bounds. Any family member that puts pressure on the wife has overstepped their bounds. They have forgotten the boundaries that they are supposed to do. So the husband has got to be strong, develop thick skin. As men, it is hard for us to look at our family members and say, no, you can't walk all over my wife. But in this instance, I want to say, no, stand as a man. That is being a real man. That is being a real man. Yeah.
Can I just add on to say, when I spoke about the verse that says, husbands, love your wives as Christ has loved the church. I've said to men, go and investigate, how did Christ love the church? Christ loved the church even when the church was not bearing fruit. Christ loved the church whilst we were still yet sinners. And so to men out there who are under pressure, love your wife even when she is not giving you children. Love her. Stand up for her when the world is against her, because this is what Christ did. When the world said we should die, Christ said, I will die on the behalf of these sinners that I created myself. And so I just want to say, ask yourself the question, how did Christ love the church? When there is pressure, how did Christ love the church?
And that's a very powerful analogy. When Christ loved the church, he went all out. He didn't care about the condition of the church. And so this is genuine love. You see, I want to say, okay, maybe there's another one. You can attend to that one.
Unlike the Ndebele tradition that recognizes a man with many children as being powerful and deserving a leadership role, the Bible has not condemned anyone on grounds of infertility. And there are figures who did great things, and they had neither children nor a spouse.
That's a great comment. I appreciate that. And so just a follow-up to that. Being childless doesn't mean you are less. You're not less. You're not less. So the point there is saying there are great people that did lots of things and they were loved by God even if they didn't have children. When we are saying the God of Jacob, there was an infertility problem. When you are saying the God of Isaac, there was an infertility problem. When you are saying the God of Abraham, there was an infertility problem. In all those instances, there were infertility problems. So I stand with the great men of the Bible, that they had infertility problems. So having infertility doesn't mean disconnection from God. Not at all. Stand with the great. And so when you are experiencing infertility in the marriage, when you don't have children, the greatest thing to do is to look at this issue positively. And I always say, and I will repeat myself, I always say, I have been blessed by God to have an extended honeymoon. And I'm having, this is my 11th year in the honeymoon, because it is prolonged involuntarily by God. So look at each situation positively, and I'm looking at my childlessness in a positive light.
Powerful. I don't see any other comment or contribution, and I just want to take this opportunity to thank Pastor Sikhumbuzo Dube of Shunem Care, and I just want to thank him for being very candid and open about his situation. It takes a lot of guts. And I want to thank everyone who tuned in this evening just to share your time with us as we spoke about this very sensitive issue. It's almost un-African to talk about such issues. And you've been watching a collaboration between Shunem Care and the Golide Family Ministry podcast. And we just want to say thank you, and may God bless you. And may you go out there and help those that are in that situation. Share this information with them. Share if you've been in the same experience. Come up with a support structure. Support one another. Help each other. this is what God has put for us, to help each other in moments of need and in moments of want. May the good Lord bless you until we meet again next time. And we just want to say thank you very much, Pastor.
Thank you. May the Lord bless you. May He lift the light of His countenance upon you. May He give you peace. Peace in your hearts and peace in your homes. And thank you very much for taking this time to speak to us. And I want to thank all the viewers and listeners from wherever you are. May you be blessed abundantly according to His riches that are found in glory. Thank you very much. Stay blessed.
Good evening.